Hello and welcome to this tutorial. In this tutorial I will show you how to create a vertical wave friendship bracelet, and for this bracelet I will need some yarns for the basis of the bracelet. On these yarns I will be making the knots, and they are about 18 inches long, that is about 46 centimeters. So from this point to this point my yarns are about 18 inches, that is 46 centimeters long. And to that I will also add these yarns with which I will create the decoration, and the total length of these yarns is about 100 centimeters, that is about 40 inches long. And now, in order to start making the bracelet, I will grab those yarns and I will create the tie of the bracelet. So let's see how long the tie should be. So I will make the tie at about this point here, and I will make a simple overhand knot at the point where I will begin my tie. This way. And now I will separate. Now the long cords have been put on the sides like this, whereas these cords on which I will start braiding will be put here. And now let's start creating the design. I will take the black yarn and I will start making forward knots on my bracelet basis yarns. So I will make the shape of the number 4. Let's see from a closer distance. Like this. I will put my finger under the white yarn and take out the black yarn like this. And I will make the first knot. Then I will make another forward knot like this. And I have created the second knot. I will put this yarn away and I will take the second yarn so I will take this second yarn and I will make forward knots again on this second yarn. So I create the shape of the number 4, I put my finger under the blue cord, grab the black cord, take the black cord out through this loop here, and I create the first knot, and again I make the number 4 like this, take the yarn out, and I create the second knot. I take the next yarn, I create the first forward knot and the second forward knot. Now I have 3 more yarns here. So I have these 3 more yarns here on which I make the knots. I will take the 4th yarn and I create the shape of the number 4 like this to create the forward knot. I grab the black yarn, take it out through this loop and make 1 knot. Again I make the number 4 like this and I create another knot. Again, I create the shape of the number 4. Again, I create the shape of the number 4. Again, I make the forward knot, so I create the shape of the number 4. I grab the black yarn, put it through the loop, make a forward knot, and then I make another forward knot. And I have brought my black yarn from this point. It moved forward and I brought the black yarn to this point. And here, as you can see from a closer distance, I have created a black line. So I will push those knots so that they are forming a straight line. So I have created the first line, black line of my design. Now I have these 6 cords here, and I will move the black yarn back here by creating backward knots. So all these knots here have been forward knots, and by means of creating forward knots I moved my yarn forward. Yarn by yarn I moved my black yarn forward until it got to this place here. And now I will make another line of knots, but with backward knots. So the backward knots will push my yarn backward and it will get back here. So I will take each of these 6 yarns, and on those yarns I will create backward knots. So the backward knot looks like the number 4 but in the mirror. Again I will put my finger under the white yarn, grab the black yarn with my nail and take it out through this loop like this to create the backward knot. So I make one backward knot, then I make the second backward knot on the first yarn like this. I put my first yarn away, I take the second yarn, I make one backward knot, the second backward knot, I take the third yarn, I make one backward knot, a second backward knot, I take the fourth yarn, I make one backward knot, the second backward knot, I take the fifth yarn, I make one backward knot and the second backward knot, and now the last yarn, one backward knot and a second backward knot. And now I brought my black yarn back, and here, as you can see, I have created 2 black lines. So I will push the knots backwards so that they form a straight line. And now I will create another line, but this time with my other yarn, with the blue and white yarn. So because this yarn is here, it wants to go back this way, so I will create backward knots on the first row, and then when I bring the yarn back to this position, from this position to this position, I will create forward knots. So I will take the first yarn and make one backward knot, the second, let's see from a distance, the second backward knot, So I put the first yarn away, I take the second yarn, I make one backward knot, the second backward knot, I put the second yarn away, I will make again one backward knot, the second backward knot, I take the next yarn, one backward knot, the second backward knot, and one backward knot, and the second backward knot, one backward knot, and the second backward knot. And now I have created a blue line, as you can see here, the blue wave. And I will go back with those knots, but this time I will create forward knots. So as you can see, I have brought my yarn from this point here, from this position on the right side, I brought it on the left side. And now to bring my yarn back from the left side to the right side, I will make forward knots. So I'll make one forward knot, the second forward knot, I'll take the next yarn, I'll make one forward knot, the second forward knot, I'll take the next yarn, I'll make one forward knot, the second forward knot, the next yarn, I'll make one forward knot, the second forward knot, the next yarn, one forward knot, the second forward knot, and the last yarn, one forward knot, and the last forward knot. So I have created a second row of knots. This time they are blue. So I made a line of black, I made a line of blue. Now I will put my blue yarn away, blue and white yarn away, and I will take the black yarn and take the first of my 6 yarns, short yarns, and I will again make forward knots. So I make the first forward knot, the second forward knot, I take the next yarn, one forward knot, the second forward knot, I take the next yarn, I make one forward knot, the second forward knot, the next yarn, one forward knot, the second forward knot, the next yarn, one forward knot, the next forward knot, and the last yarn, one forward knot and the second forward knot, like this. Let's see, now I have created another black line, and now I brought with the forward knots, I brought the yarn from this side, from the left side to the right side, and now I want to bring my yarn back to the left side, my black yarn, so I will make backward knots. So I will make one backward knot, the second backward knot, and so on. So I will continue with backward knots in this direction, and once I have brought my black yarn here, I will take my white and blue yarn and create another set of 2 rows like this. So I'll have these 2 black rows now, and then I will create more blue and white rows. And I will have alternating black and blue and white rows along my bracelet. So let's continue making the backward knots on my yarns with the black yarn until I bring my black yarn from the right back to the left. And then I will continue with my blue and white yarn. And after I finish making those parallel lines with blue and with black, then I will show you how to create a bracelet ties and to finish the bracelet. So let's continue with the backward knots with the black yarn. And now that we have reached the end of our bracelet, I will create the last knot here, a backward knot to close the bracelet. And now I will also close this end of the bracelet. And I will take the yarn over here and I will close the bracelet. By doing 2 forward knots. And now I will make the ties. So I will take those yarns and I will separate the yarns in 2 like this. I will start turning the yarns to the left, so in this direction. Now I will take the other yarns and I will also twist them in the same direction, like the first group of yarns. And now I will twist them one around the other, but in the opposite direction, to the right. Like this. So I have twisted the yarns. Now I will make a knot at the end of those yarns. I will cut like this the end of the tie, and now I will take the other end of my bracelet and again I will twist the yarns to the left, I will take the other yarns, the other half of the yarns, I will also twist them in the same direction to the left. So separately I will twist both yarns in the same direction. So both these and these yarns are twisted to the left. Of course you can twist them to the right, and then when you twist them around one another you can twist them to the left. But it is important that you twist the separate yarns in one direction, and when you twist them around one another you twist them in the opposite direction. So both these yarns are twisted to the left. And now let's twist them around one another to the right this time. And now I will also make a knot at this end of the tie. I will cut the end of the tie, and now our bracelet is ready. So we can close the bracelet like this by making a knot this way, and this is what my bracelet looks like. Or if you want to make a sliding knot, we just take one of those ties, we make a knot this way, and we put the other tie through this knot, and we tighten this knot, and now I can open and I can close the bracelet using this sliding knot, like this. So let's repeat the sliding knot. Let's see from a closer distance. So I have this tie here. I turn the tie around my finger. I put the tie through this loop that I have created. I take the other tie, I put it through this loop, and I tighten the knot of my loop this way. And now one of the ties will slide through the knot of the other tie. And this is the bracelet with sliding knot.